What is going on, Misfits? Sherb and Hunter.
Oi.
In the house today. Drew is, bless his heart, somewhere in the mountains of Vermont. So he has effectively, what's the word?
Forfeited?
Forfeited, yeah. Forfeited. I was trying to think. Forfeited the grip test for today. So he's taking a big zero, big goose egg, Drew. I know you're listening. But today we've got a kind of special edition podcast here. We're going kind of Coaches Podcast, kind of, hey, we've got some cool stuff coming up for the affiliates in the next week or two. But we're also going to talk about the CrossFit Games from the affiliate perspective, like why the CrossFit Games are important for the affiliates. Before we get into it, we've been moving some stuff around at the gym. We've got like new gear, new open space. Gym's looking fucking crispy.
Yeah, it's much better than it was. It's funny with the whole COVID situation, putting things in setting things up in your gym to make it safe for members. Obviously, our first priority at the gym is making sure members are safe, as they're on their journey to being fitter. But, a lot of times that creates a situation where things aren't in the most ideal location for big classes where, you're cycling barbells, you're doing handstand walk and climbing rope. Kind of puts you in a little bit of a box here. So it's kind of fun for us to kind of get back into the gym today and like move things around, kind of settling the dust from the I wouldn't say post-pandemic because we're definitely not out of it yet, but things are a little bit safer around here now. So we're able to kind of comfortably move things back to their hopefully forever home.
Yeah, I think it was kind of interesting, and this is like we're not just telling everybody about like.
In case you're wondering about gym updates for Misfit Gym Portland.
In case you're wondering about what the inside of Misfit Gym Portland looks like, it's cool because one, we have the affiliate game stuff coming up. We knew that, and we need we need a lane for people to handstand walk, for people to, walking lunge and stuff like that without stuff interfering. And I think like from a class experience sort of thing, like thinking about that stuff as a coach is kind of important. Like you have to think about what, the flow of your class does the setup of your gym limit what you're able to do from a programming perspective, from a training perspective, but it does also kill
the fun too,
or
right?
Does it kill the fun?
Right.
Yeah.
If you're trying to create this mock games, which is something we're going to be talking about a lot in this podcast, like if you're trying to create an actual games, like you don't want it to feel like just every other Tuesday at your affiliate. You want it to have a little bit of an air about it that makes it feel unique, makes it feel special. Right. You talk about this quite a bit, and I've seen you post on our social media about like, hey, every once in a while you got one of those cardio workouts and it's, supposed to be 10 rounds for time and it's very fast, kind of like the hang snatch goblet squat thing we had recently. Like create the opportunity for athletes to practice what it feels like to be out in the competition floor because, old journal article said it best, but like competition breeds excellence and people will die for points. So if you can make it feel more like a race, then you're going to encourage people to push the limits of human performance, which in our eyes, it's like, yeah, you're just getting good intensity, which is great for your fitness. But at the same time, they're having a good time while also getting really fit.
Yeah, for sure. So affiliate games weeks starts next Monday and goes for 2 weeks. So the 13th of September, and then so the week of the 13th, and then the week of the 20th is when those events are. And what we've got is basically every games event from 2021 except for, no swim, kayak.
The freestanding handstand push-up though.
No, we're free. We got a version of that. Yeah. And then no 1 rep max snatch, which I'm sure is disappointing, but for current subscribers, we've got that coming up this week actually. So
it's nice of you to call it a 1 rep max snatch. You don't tell what else is in the day with the 1 rep max snatch.
Don't ask questions you don't want answers to. You'll get to do a 1 rep max snatch. You might just need to earn it a little bit first, but we got that coming up. But but every other event, and then we actually have 2 additional events from the 2021 season, the 2020 season, snuck in there kind of as our Saturday workouts. I think it's just like before we get into why those things are cool, it's like, or rather why the affiliates benefit from like the actual CrossFit Games. I think this is a cool opportunity for like kind of almost like a mid-season or like, it's on the opposite end of the open. It's like if affiliate athletes only get the one chance to kind of quote compete a year, it's like maybe we have another opportunity to benchmark our fitness or to at least like push yourself in a way that you don't always do like in regular class.
And that's exactly why the Open is so great. You have athletes who don't necessarily always have something to train for. Maybe they start to lose sight of what they're training for. They come to you with the goal of, hey, I want to lose 30 pounds. You know, maybe they're 15 pounds down, feeling a little stuck in their ways. I'm kind of plateauing, and they're not really being excited to go back to the gym. They're not jazzed up to go back in and do, you know, thrusters and box jump overs. Like, great, cool. But if you can create the situation where there's something to look forward to, like the Open, or in this situation, the affiliate games, you just create an opportunity to recharge the community and create excitement in a part of the year where, you know, athletes just saw the CrossFit Games, and that like high of watching how cool that event was is starting to wear off. And, you know, we're going back to the day-to-day grind of, all right, I'm just going to show up and be fit. You know, some people need another reason to want to keep training hard. You know, it's always, we talk about this with like elite athletes, but, you know, as soon as they feel like they've lost their like why or why they're going in there, they don't put the same effort and energy into it. And, you know, it's our jobs as well as exercise coaches and, you know, exercise professionals to also work on motivation, where our job is to help people see why their commitment actually matters. And part of that is getting buy-in, and things like, you know, the affiliate games or the Open are excellent opportunities to show someone like, hey, yeah, you know, typically exercise is seen as like this, I have to go after work and like put my gym clothes on and like sweat, and everyone else is like staring at me, and I'm in the corner of my AirPods in, no one's paying attention. Like, for a lot of people, the gym experience is just like, I don't want to go do that. We're trying to create the exact opposite scenario where someone is actually excited to come back to the gym, not only because they're seeing their friends and because they know they have that community vibe, but there's something they shoot for. And for a small, you know, amount of time, they're put in a situation where they're not comfortable. I mean, a big part of our job is to make sure that in addition to being safe, that, you know, we push their comfort level, because they'll never grow if they're not uncomfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and that's a good segue into kind of talking about, so like I said, those 2 weeks, affiliate games weeks, those are going to be for like our current subscribers, but we're giving it away for free. So if it probably early this week, if it's not already out, because we're talking in the past about the future here, we're going to be giving it away. So it'll be a downloadable 2-week PDF. If you're interested in that, or if a gym is on SugarWOD, you're going to be able to subscribe. You get the 14 days for free. And you'll be able to download those full 2 weeks of the mock games. Cool couple things that we've got as part of that is, one, we're going to have 3 versions of every workout. So this isn't something we normally do, and that's kind of a culture thing, whereas it would be pretty easy for us to say, like, here's the RX intermediate and beginner versions. And I know some gyms and coaches do that, but we don't. We want the kind of onus to be on the coach. If you've got the 3 versions up there, it's kind of like, what's the coach there for? Like, what's the coach? The coach has that personal connection with individuals as to how to, you know, scale or modify a workout for that person, rather than here's 3 kind of cookie cutter options for you.
And I got something to say about that, because there's nothing wrong with, when you're testing, having levels to test that. Yeah. Like, you know, the same way the Open has RX and scaled, it's the opportunity for your fittest athletes to do this challenging version, and then for everybody who's in that scaled category to have a challenging version. When testing, that's fully appropriate. However, when you're training day to day, if you fit into that cookie cutter model, there's going to be a lot of times you're an athlete who has certain skills that are at the RX capacity and a lot of skills that are at the scaled or, you know, intermediate capacity. And you have people who are like, well, which category am I in? And you don't want to have someone who's, you know, maybe very good with the cardio but not very strong, stuck to doing the modified version, when there's parts of the RX version that are completely appropriate for them. So, you know, there's nothing wrong with levels when it comes to testing. I just personally don't agree with it when it comes to day-to-day training, because again, I don't think everyone fits in this like black and white category of you are RX, you are intermediate, you are scale.
That's a really good way to put that. Because like you said, during testing, like an open workout, if somebody, you know, we always tell people, if you have the capability to do these movements, do the weights in, you know, and do them safely, like, go for it. You might not get, like, you're not going to be sitting super high on the leaderboard, but that person probably doesn't care about that. They're benchmarking themselves against themselves. And that's super valuable. But exactly like you said, during a regular class, like, a certain movement that would be appropriate for one person might be better, might not be appropriate or the best option for somebody else to get the desired stimulus.
It could also classify them in one situation where they never feel ready to make the leap to the next scope because they're like, I have these 7 things I can't do.
There is a gray area between those levels. So
there's always going to be a level of I can get a little bit better and I can progress. But if you're like, all right, you are scaled if you can't do handstand pushups. If you never try handstand pushups, how will you ever get them?
Right.
You won't. So the idea here is, the classifications make a lot of sense for testing, but for training, we want to constantly be pushing people in a way that's, meeting the stimulus, but also challenge them appropriately. And what's great about day-to-day training is that you can vary the stimulus and figure out how to make that leap for someone who's stuck as, hey, I'm brand new and I'm really looking to be like, so-and-so over there. Here's like the breadcrumbs on the trail to how to get there.
Yeah. And so with we basically the quote RX version of that of the games workout is not in a couple cases, it's like, hey, have at it.
Straight up.
running the toes to bar and running. That was one of the ones that like our affiliate athletes were like, oh, I love that one. It's like, I don't know if you actually love that one or you love it because they're movements at a volume that you've done before. Like you can run 3, so, and that's awesome. We want to give people the opportunity to do that. But the RX version is going to be like, hey, this is going to be tough. Like this is going to be a challenge. Your RX athletes at your gym. I would be, if you have an athlete who absolutely annihilates the workout, I'd love to see the video, or something like that. I would venture to say that just about literally anybody at any level, save, maybe the most elite games athletes would still get a really good workout. Just because they'd be able to go faster in it. But
100%.
When the clean ladder ends at 285 for men and whatever 190, 195 for women at an affiliate, like we have affiliate athletes who can do that. So you guys must as well. Like, so
you're going to have some very impressive performances. And it's one of those things too, where like you might have a high level person who's, I only do competitive programming. And you're like, all right, well, like, this is a test. This is no different than signing up for the Open or Wodapalooza, online qualifier. Put yourself up against this and see what you got. Because I think there are going to be a lot of athletes that realize that, this is not an easy affiliate games. It's not meant to be everyone can access the RX version, but that's exactly why there are 3 iterations of it. And we're kind of thinking about certain athletes in mind. So like, I don't know if you want to necessarily go into like the weeds of like where they should be, but like when I think of RX athlete, I'm like, no, you're finishing somewhere in the top couple thousand in the Open worldwide. Like you are able to do all the Open workouts RX. You're not going to balk at any of the weights because nothing's insane. Like you just said, 285 is probably the heaviest barbell that you see out there for the men.
I think we basically made the RX version as difficult as we could in such a way that it's reasonable. Like I think that we have a pretty good range of athletes at our gym. We have some very, very fit, like top couple hundred in quarterfinals. And these are athletes who just follow the affiliate programming. And you could argue maybe we're a little bit of an outlier because of, it's Misfit athletics and whatever. But I mean, we're in Portland, Maine. Like it's not like we have people flying out here to train to train and join the gym yet. But the RX athlete, like it's RX, like I would say it's probably along the lines of like somewhere between quarterfinals and semifinals, like difficulty, right? Some of the workouts are like quarterfinals. Some of them are, maybe even a little bit tougher, but we obviously would love to include the pegboard if every affiliate had 10 pegboards for their athletes to climb. But
I think it's a great classification there. If you're right around quarterfinals, the top 10% in the world, like RX is more than appropriate for you. And there might be some people who are a little bit below that line who are also kind of within reason there. Kind of moving on to intermediate, you're thinking about those folks that, we'll do a handful of RX workouts a month, but more or less are doing a lot of the workouts modified slightly. And this is the like in between, bridging the gap between someone who's brand new, beginner, or very, deconditioned.
Sure.
And that athlete who's like, I'd like to work towards RX and, I'm going to be doing a decent handful of these intermediate. And what's nice about this is you coaches can go out there and say, hey, events 1, 3, and 8, RX for you 100%. It makes sense. Let's talk about intermediate for 2, 7, and 9. And then maybe for this one single event, you're going to do the beginner version because we think you're going to get a better workout. So like, I think the intermediate's kind of like that, that person in class who comes in and does a handful of RX workouts a month, but maybe doesn't hit everything, 100% of the time RX.
Yep. Yeah, and then the scaled version is kind of it has like basically almost like suggestions, like here's a way you can make this. It's again similar to like the open version.
I would say that's what's pretty unique about this too, in addition to having the 3 classifications, is just, how we deliver the programming to all of you. Typically when you get the PDF or you go on SugarWOD, you'll see things like how things should feel and the pacing. One of the things that we put in here, because we know these are tests, and when they're testing, we allow for the stimulus to be a little bit more varied, or a little bit more, I would say, gray area when it comes to the stimulus. You're going to get things like target scores, or roughly how long this should take, so you can kind of think about it from each athlete's perspective in class. Like, this will take this person about 12 minutes, about 14 minutes, about 15 minutes. So they're all in the right category.
Yep.
But, something you mentioned earlier about with our gym is setting up the logistics. I think it's a huge part of that document, is helping affiliates understand how to run this more effectively at their gym.
Yeah. I think that was the next thing I was going to hit, is that like with these games events, like we were talking about earlier, we want to set up, kind of create the atmosphere, create the environment where people can race, which means, there is a 36-foot lane for lunging, like there was in the final event at the games or whatever. So we provide you with suggested layouts of the floor, and they're pretty like general, because we know every gym has different size, different floor space. Maybe you've got a really long but narrow gym. Maybe you've got like a gigantic box with empty space. We've got basically like, hey, here's how we envision this being set up. And then it's kind of on you guys to be able to create that. We also include things like stagger times in case like, equipment is limited, or even in some cases like, hey, we just simply don't have ski ergs. We don't have enough rowers or something like that. It's either here's a modification, or here's how to stagger your class in a way we think will cover 90% of you all.
We want it to be accessible. Like, the idea here is we're putting out this like sort of challenge to affiliates, like, can you run the CrossFit Games at your affiliate? But at the same time, we realize that not every gym has 15 rowers, 15 assault, like all those things. So
ropes,
just be smart about it. It's one of those things where at the end of the day, if you have to stagger, if you have to pull one of the pieces out and just run one of the 2 things because of what you have at your gym, and you make it like, heat 3 judges heat 1, then heat 2 judges heat 4, something like that, it makes it more fun. It gives it a little different level, and we're trying to create this atmosphere like it's the games. Like, don't be afraid to partner people up and have them judge one another, or create a situation where like it does have that extra like layer of, all right, this is different than class. Yeah. Which is super important when it comes time to like making it feel different.
And then finally, something we're really excited about is you're going to get ROMWOD daily. You're going to get a daily ROMWOD video that can be obviously done as part of your class. I would venture to say it would probably, if you were to try to cram the event and the ROMWOD in kind of that 1 hour, it might be a little tight. But like part of like kind of the environment of competition is the recovery aspect. And it's not something that we program a ton in like kind of the regular class. We always want to provide like cool downs and stuff like that. But the guys at ROMWOD, super helpful. We're going to provide you with a daily video, so you can put that up on a screen, at your gym. We'll also have some different like code usages for athletes to be able to like download or get a free month of ROMWOD, so that they can do that on their own. Maybe it's at home or something like that. Just as, again, a way to put athletes step them outside of the standard comfort zone of just going to my CrossFit gym for a workout. It's like, hey, let's create this cool thing. It's almost like a challenge or something like that.
It checks off a few boxes. I mean, one thing, if you're used to our programming, you're typically getting 2 to 3 pieces a day, some sort of strength or some gymnastics strength or skill focus, a conditioning piece. And then if you have the competitor extra and you put in your class, you're used to 2 to 3 pieces. So you're going to have some gyms who are like, hey, where's that extra piece? We have people who really enjoy 2 or 3 pieces a day. And, when it comes time to test, like in the open or at the games or semifinals, like, those athletes aren't hitting those semifinals things and then going, all right, how many can I do 16 more pieces this week? Because they're really trying to pour all of their effort and energy into one single thing. And for a lot of athletes, like, they don't think of training that way. They think of it, I show up, I do my hour class, I go home, and then mind is blank. I've never worked out before, and I'll show up tomorrow and do it all over again, instead of thinking about all the things that just happen to their body. And, while this might be considered lower volume for some folks that like to do lots of volume, creating the situation where you see how much spending 20 to 25 minutes of a little bit of, vinyasa yoga and just kind of moving through ranges of motion and seeing how your performance, is executed the rest of the week, you're going to be surprised because your volume is lower, how much better your body feels, not only because the volume is lower, but also because you're paying attention to the range of motion stuff that maybe you don't necessarily put into your mix. Because if I were to, put out the 10 general physical skills, I would put flexibility at pretty high up on that list of things that most people don't necessarily work on outside of like, hey, I squat snatch. Like, no. Like, when's the last time you stretched for like more than 3 seconds?
Yeah. I don't know. I'll check my logbook. Check my watch. All right. So we kind of talked a while about what we've got coming up. It honestly felt like a little bit of an advertisement, but it is out there for free. But here, so let's take that and segue it into why are the games, like the actual CrossFit Games that we saw finally back live in person with human beings in the stands, why does that matter? How does that benefit affiliates? Because I think like there was probably like an era of CrossFit where it was like, it was really important, and then we had that weird kind of interim couple years where it was just like, we're going to swing all the way to the other side and say the games aren't important because we want to make people healthy. The CrossFit health stuff is more important, and we don't even want to worry about the CrossFit Games. And you and I, like, we're both on the CrossFit health, like, that's awesome. Like, we want that, but there is an ecosystem where both exist,
I would say my own personal journey into like figuring out what if I want to even do CrossFit is a great reason why the CrossFit Games should exist. When I found CrossFit, someone told me about CrossFit.com. So I started following the daily programming, which you skip all the 5Ks and 5K, rows and runs, and then you lift the 7x1 strict press, eat the slice of pizza. But you like really get into the idea of like one workout a day, work really hard. And then you see, oh shit, there's a fucking competition that has all this stuff. And that's amazing. Like, how do I go and compete at that? This is before I even knew a CrossFit affiliate even existed. I didn't know this was a thing. I just saw a website where they put out a workout for the day. You did it. And then every once in a while they put up so-and-so's score. And then the 2008 CrossFit Games happened and they had the every second counts, and you start watching those videos and you're like, fuck, I didn't realize exercising could be cool. Like you really just thought I can go someplace and they'll tell me how to do this, like with other humans. Like, and it's like cool. And as soon as I found out that like I could find other people to do this with, it wasn't just me, like lone wolf all the time. I was like, oh, an affiliate. Well, what the hell is that place? And you go there and you quickly realize that, like, I remember one of the first affiliates I ever went to, it says, when was the last time you got beat by a 12-year-old girl? And it was just a poster on the wall there. And it was just saying like, if everyone's competing in a workout, and what I think is really awesome about a CrossFit gym is that everybody can go in there and work out together. You don't need to have like all collegiate athletes or all like senior citizens. Like, they can work out in the same class together, obviously at different capacities, but they could effectively race in a CrossFit workout. And I was just like, there's something to the competitive nature, but then how awesome it is just to go see your friends. So you have this opportunity to create a spectacle that gets people excited about exercising. Yeah. And then that's the hook that gets them to walk in through your door. And then when they walk through the door, they realize that, no, you're not doing the CrossFit Games at the affiliate, but you're doing a lot of the same things. You have a lot of like-minded people, and that is really fun and really engaging. Yeah. And for a lot of people, creates a scenario where you're not like, sitting in your car outside the gym being like, fuck, I don't want to go in. I don't want to go in. Yeah. You just go in because you're seeing your friends. Yeah. And you watch on TV or you watch on YouTube, there's something exciting about watching a 130-pound female put 250 pounds over her head. And it's like, what? Like, what the fuck just happened? Like, and that's like that's an extreme example, but like, I mean, even yesterday in our affiliate class, we had women. We've got women cleaning 200 plus pounds. We've got men cleaning like 300 pounds. These are all normal people that somewhere, whether they saw the CrossFit Games or elsewhere, like, there was something about it that was like, oh, I'm gonna come into my local affiliate, and that's regardless of what your goal is in CrossFit, that's your entry point, is at the affiliate. So they talk about like the tip of the spear.
Not want that,
right? They talk about the tip of the spear. Yeah. So if you want to create adoption by a larger community, you need to go to a very special sect of that community that's at the very top of that, like top of the pyramid, and say, all right, like, show us what you can do. And the trickle down effect of everyone seeing what the best of the best can do creates the inspiration to be like, all right, what if I work that hard? Could I be at the top of that pyramid? And what that does is it gets people excited about it. And then that trickle down creates it. So eventually, you know, someone's grandmother walks through the door, not because they're like, I'm going to win the CrossFit Games. It's that their friend told them about it. Their friend got told by another friend, and that friend saw someone who watched the CrossFit Games.
Right.
And it doesn't seem like it necessarily goes like A to B, B to C, C to D, but that connection is what brings people through the door and gets people excited about, you know, effectively just coming in and breathing heavy for an hour, which is to me a really neat effect of the CrossFit Games.
Yeah. I think that's a good, like, another segue into another point is that the trickle down that happens from the CrossFit Games is something that most people, a lot of athletes don't recognize. But I think, like, we as programmers, especially when we do, because we've got obviously the Misfit Athletics, the competitive stuff where we're trying to get athletes to the CrossFit Games, but we're also very attuned to what's going on in the affiliate. And we can see the trickle down in both performance and in programming that goes from the games all the way down to the open. Basically, it goes from the games, like, okay, this is now acceptable at the CrossFit Games for the most elite. Well, we need something to bridge the gap between the affiliate athlete and this. So what do we have to do? Okay, we've got that intermediate step. We've got the open and now quarterfinals. And it's like, okay, well, if we want to get the best to the CrossFit Games, we need to make those tests difficult enough to kind of stratify the community enough to make sure that there's, you know, the best kind of, the cream rises to the top, so to speak, but also so that the tests are doable by enough people that we can get valid data. You know, if every open workout had 315 clean and jerks and you know, ring handstand push-ups, yeah, sounds great. No reps.
I'll stand around.
I'll stand around for a while. You know, that sure, we get some really fit people who complete those workouts, but it's such a small number that it's statistically irrelevant. So we need to have enough people that are able to do these workouts in order to filter out the best. And from a programming perspective, that means that the games are slowly kind of dragging the performance and the fitness of everything behind it, which is the, you know, semifinals, quarterfinals, the open, and then the affiliate athlete. Like, all of that stuff has second and third order effects as to what's acceptable and what people can actually do.
It sets the tone. I mean, if you really want to see what this is about, go back and look at the CrossFit Games events from 2007, 2008, and 2009. You know, in 2009, you had a chipper that had like 20 double unders in it and 3 muscle ups, you know, with some other movements in it. And people were like standing around getting stuck in their tracks because they couldn't do 20 consecutive double unders. Yeah. And now we just had an open workout this past year that had 450 inside of a 15-minute window with a bunch of wall walks.
What about the one before, like 17, when it was like 100 double unders? Then
the
like
800 double under terrible thing?
8 zillion double unders. But
like that type of situation is not created without someone setting the tone for everyone to kind of filter down and follow. So like when the CrossFit Games comes out and they say, you know, the pegboard's a new implement, or the heavy jump rope's a new implement, or you got to be able to walk on your hands over parallettes, like, you create the situation that now provides the programmers who want to see their athletes compete at that level, thinking, all right, like, how do we bridge the gap and how do we get there? And that trickle down happens from all the way at the very top to, you know, someone's grandma coming in and be like, hey, guess what? You know, I tell my mom, you're going to learn how to do a wall walk. And like, how many 62-year-old women need to know how to get upside down? And if you ask it outside the bubble of CrossFit, you're like, that seems such an unnecessary risk. Ridiculous. Why would you do that? But then when you explain to someone, hey, if I know that my mother can get upside down and hold her body weight through her shoulder, if she falls in the winter, I'm not worried about her breaking her arm or busting her hip. Yeah. Like, and I also know she's got better control of her balance and coordination. So again, she can catch herself if she falls. So while at the same time, it might feel like a stretch to say something like, yeah, wall walks are important for, you know, older people. They actually are, because I just gave you 3 different reasons why someone would care about being inverted. And that type of stuff, again, doesn't seem like it has a direct connect to the freestanding handstand push-ups we saw in the games this year. But later on, we might see that iteration continue to progress. And as that does, we rise to the challenge and make it better.
And this past year, we saw like two incredible examples. One, like you said, the handstand walk situation, but the Annie. So like one of the biggest stories from this year's games was like Annie Thorsdottir has has competed across 3 decades, of competition. And there were 2 instances that I can think of. Is one in 2009 when she was at 9 or 8, when she was like, had never done a muscle up before, so at the CrossFit Games in 2009, and even the few years beyond that, like muscle ups were like, that's a pretty high skill movement. And now think, like, let's go back like two or 3 years ago, when it was like 120 calorie row, 80 wall balls, 40 ring muscle ups. Like there's 40 ring muscle ups programmed in an open workout, and affiliate athletes are completing the workout or getting a lot of them. And it's like, that's now at the some average Joe walking through the door ability level. And then the snatch thing is like, okay, so Annie, like, still getting fitter after so long, hits a 200-pound snatch. Remember in what was it, 2009 or 2010, like the winning snatch at the games was like, for men, was like 245. And then in 2016, that chest to bar squat snatch workout, like 225 was like the third of 5 barbells.
Well, I just think back to like the videos you see of Annie too, and talking about three decades of CrossFit. They showed her struggling to snatch like 105 or 115 in like, I don't know, 2007, 8, 9, somewhere around there. And then fast forward 12 years later, and she's putting almost 100 more pounds over her head. Right. And you see not only the difference in the atmosphere of the competition, you see the difference in the way she approaches the bar, the way she moves. And like, we are truly finding the bounds of human performance. And what she is able to show is truthfully what they're absolutely after at CrossFit, which is fitness across a lifetime. She has now shown that through 12 years, 3 different decades of continuing to practice, how much better she's gotten. And then the fact that she's still getting better this many years in it, this many CrossFit Games, and not being burnt out or injured, it just speaks to the quality of her training and how she works, and having a kid. Like, there are many reasons why what she did this past year was so impressive. But for me, it's you can see someone, and you can see both the competitive athlete and the person who's trying to win the CrossFit Games, but also the person who's coming back from having her first child, now being able to be like, all right, how do I take the daily affiliate stuff, the CrossFit stuff I fell in love with when I started, and put it back into the ability to then compete later on? Because you never know at your affiliate. You might have a handful of aspiring competitors who maybe haven't figured it out for them yet that they want to, and you should provide the opportunity, if you really care about helping athletes really reach their potential, to do so. We have a handful of people at our gym who have moved here recently from other gyms locally, and are, you can see that they have that potential to be a very, very good athlete, but haven't necessarily scratched the surface of like what they could actually do yet. And, in your affiliate, if you have the opportunity to provide a test or a challenge that makes them think like, oh, I could be there, I could make that leap. It's another reason why those games are so important, because they show athletes, they tell the story of the athletes like Caroline Connors, who literally walked in, to your beginner class and said, I'd like to work out here. And you're like, all right, like, that's fine. Like, come take a Philly class.
Max deadlift.
Exactly. At like 100 pounds to, going to the CrossFit Games. So like, those stories do happen. And I think this, the CrossFit Games shows as an opportunity to tell those stories for people who maybe you wouldn't hear those stories otherwise.
Yeah. 100%.
The only thing I'd say to kind of like to wrap up, the why the CrossFit Games so much is just like, what's next? A big part of what we try to do at Misfit Athletics is guess what the new standard is for movements. Similar to the way that like the 225 snatch was the standard for men. Now it's, I don't know, 305. Someday, 25 unbroken ring muscle ups are going to be a thing, or 50 unbroken handstand push-ups are going to be a thing. And we need the CrossFit Games to be constantly pushing our boundaries of what is possible, so that it does become a possibility, because no one ran a sub 4-minute mile until one person did, and like 100 people did. Like, it's crazy how that works, but there's that mental like breakthrough that occurs when someone does something for the first time.
Just what is possible? What is like, what will be. We wrote an article on this, and kind of like the culminating argument was just like, okay, we wrote it in 2020 after the games, and it was after they did Atalanta, which, if you forgot, was like in a weight vest. Was it mile runs, 100 handstand push-ups, 200 pistols, 300 pull-ups, like by far the most like extreme volume of those, probably of those movements specifically, like, and in the way that it was written, and it was like, holy shit, like this is the new standard. And everybody did it, like at the games. And again, this is the top 5. It was at 5 fittest men and women on the planet. But it's like, okay, if people were passing out in Murph 3 years ago, and 10 years ago, accomplishing Murph was like a feat in itself. Like, what does that say about what the future may hold? And that's not to say like, oh, in 5 years, affiliate athletes are going to be doing Atalanta. Like, that's probably a pretty extreme example, but it's certainly like, well, what's next?
Well, you could make the argument that, affiliates could start programming a version of Atalanta that's appropriate. You could do 1/3 of Atalanta at your gym, and that could be a very realistic, workout.
No.
If, take the vest off, have people do 1/3 of the work, but then, same way that someone starts out with Murph, when someone comes to our affiliate at first, we don't say, all right, good luck, do a full Murph, see you tomorrow. Like, you start with a quarter or a half, and you partition it so you're able to make the workout accessible, get a good piece. And then as you get fitter and fitter, we dial up the challenge a little bit more. So, at some point, I wouldn't be surprised if you see an affiliate run our partitioned at Atlanta at their gym. You run a mile, and then you do whatever, the 20 rounds of 5, 10, and 15, and you run a mile again. And what, like you said, sort of is kind of mind blowing is to think like, where could this go next?
Right.
What is the next iteration of, Atalanta was a shock value workout. What's the next one?
Yeah.
So, exciting stuff. I'm really excited to give you guys the opportunity to have your gym go through a CrossFit Games. Even if you aren't a Team Misfit subscriber or even follow Misfit Athletics, it's a great opportunity for you to see like what we do and how we program and kind of the thought we put into every single programming piece. Because as important as, competing with the high level athletes is and coaching those high level athletes, it's more fun for us to really like sit down and think about how we can help push the bounds of performance to a larger audience. And in this situation, it's your affiliate. So I'm excited about it.
Boom. I like that. Good place to end. So September, sorry, I'm looking at my screen here. September 13th, Affiliate Games Week kicks off. You can get your free 2 weeks from teammisfit.com or in the SugarWOD marketplace to download or publish that to your programming calendar. Again, includes RX intermediate scaled versions. You've still got your warm-ups. You've still got, like you said, we've got here's how to lay this out. Here's how to stagger this. Here's how to modify it if you don't have this equipment. Here's how long we're thinking it should roughly take a pretty wide range of different people, but a really fun event to do at your affiliate. Again, teammisfit.com or the SugarWOD marketplace. And we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.